When it comes to Naruto, I felt like the Konoha Crush arc was a little bit of an underwhelming mid-series climax to the overall series. It's definitely a step down from the Chunin Exams arc, so let's see if the follow-up arc, the Search for Tsunade arc, can bounce back from that bit of a dip in quality that the series had. This new arc picks up immediately where the last one left off. We follow the two mysterious cloaked individuals who appeared in the last scene of the prior arc. They walk up to an entrance of the village and are stopped by a guard who they knock out easily. We get another reminder that Sasuke is indeed traumatized by the night that his whole family was murdered and how he was just unable to do anything to stop it since he was just a kid. I mean, he's still a kid, but he was an even younger kid. Naruto finishes up his training for the day and meets up with Konohamaru, who is looking up at his grandfather's likeness up on the Hokage faces. And Konohamaru says that he is going to help to rebuild the village after all the losses it suffered during the invasion in the last arc. This impresses Naruto, so he gives Konohamaru a coupon for a free bowl of ramen. Then we jump several countries away to the Land of Wind, which is where the Sand Village is located. A team of ninjas led by Baki, who is the leader of Gaara's team in the Konoha Crush and the Chunin Exams, they discover the rotting corpses of the 4th Kagekaze and his bodyguards. This reveals that the Kagekaze was never involved in the Leaf Village invasion plot, and it was just that Orochimaru killed him and pretended to be the Kagekaze to manipulate and use the Sand Village to bolster his invasion force. And so Baki curses Orochimaru for this. We then see that Orochimaru is recovering in his secret lair alongside his henchman Kabuto, who discusses Orochimaru's loss of his arms and how they should go about the future plans with this new weakness. Jiraiya gets offered to fill in as the 5th Hokage, as he's one of the 3 legendary Sannin who trained under the 3rd Hokage, but he refuses the offer and says that if the village wants a Sannin to become Hokage, then Tsunade would be a much better fit for the job. Jiraiya says that he can find her for the Leaf Village if they want her to be Hokage, and then he asks if he can take Naruto to tag along while he goes after her. Sasuke gets summoned to a tea shop by Kakashi, Asuma, and Kurenai, and inside the shop are the 2 cloaked individuals from earlier, who Kakashi sends Asuma and Kurenai to tail while he takes Sasuke elsewhere. Asuma and Kurenai intercept the cloaked duo and demand that they reveal their identities, and so they are revealed to be the infamous Itachi Uchiha, the older brother of Sasuke and slaughterer of the whole Uchiha clan, and then Kisame Hoshikage, a weird fish shark dude who was a member of the Hidden Mist Village's 7 swordsmen of the Mist Squad, the elite team of blade-wielding ninja that Zabuza from the first arc was also a member of. The 4 begin a fight, and Itachi and Kisame quickly start winning. Just as Asuma and Kurenai are about to be killed, Kakashi shows up to save them. Kakashi tells Kurenai and Asuma to close their eyes as he and Itachi start fighting, both of them using their Sharingans to level the playing field. And Kakashi is skilled, but Itachi is just even better, and he has access to an even more advanced form of the Sharingan, the Mangekyo Sharingan. Itachi then uses his Sharingan to trap Kakashi with the Genjutsu, the Moon Reader Genjutsu, which basically traps its victim inside of their own head in a world that Itachi can control. He uses the ability to torture Itachi, hanging him up on a post like a scarecrow, because Kakashi apparently means scarecrow in Japanese, and he stabs him over and over, just turning him into a human pincushion. Kakashi's able to remind himself that it's all in his head, and he's able to withstand the pain for 72 hours, but in reality it was just seconds. Kakashi, who can barely stand at this point, asks why Itachi has come, and Itachi says that they're after Naruto, of all people. This gives Kakashi a flashback to a conversation he had with Jiraiya, where Jiraiya said that he'd been keeping tabs on Orochimaru since the time that he originally left the village way before, when the 3rd Hokage was still in charge. After this, Orochimaru ended up joining the Akatsuki, a secret organization made up of the strongest ninja who have all gone rogue from their different respective villages. This is the very same group that Itachi and Kisame are currently a part of. Jiraiya also says that Naruto having the 9-tailed fox inside of him paints a massive target on his back, and he'll always have to be looking over his shoulder, and this is why Jiraiya wants to take over Naruto's training from Kakashi. He thinks he's better suited to help prepare Naruto for the challenges he faces. So Kakashi uses this information to deduce that Itachi and Kisame don't want Naruto, but they want the 9-tailed fox. And the very fact that Kakashi knows that the Akatsuki exists enrages Itachi, so he orders Kisame to kill Kurenai and Asuma. Just in the nick of time, Guy Sensei shows up, which tips the battle against Itachi and Kisame, so they decide to start retreating. And then we see Sasuke inside of his family's old basement, just working himself up into a rage as he remembers the massacre that was caused by Itachi. We also see Naruto, who is approached by Jiraiya, who asks him to accompany him to find Tsunade. But Naruto wants to stay in the Leaf Village as he hopes that Kakashi will teach him the Chidori after seeing how cool Sasuke was with it in the last couple arcs. But Jiraiya says that he can teach Naruto an even more powerful jutsu, which very easily wins over Naruto and gets him to tag along. Jiraiya and Naruto are en route to another town, and Naruto's curious of why he of all people Jiraiya would pick to be his apprentice. This is when Jiraiya says that Naruto reminds him a lot of the 4th Hokage, who was once Jiraiya's apprentice long ago. Naruto asks who trained Jiraiya, and he reveals it was the 3rd Hokage. And then Jiraiya asks if Naruto did the bell test, and Naruto complains that he ended up tied to a stump, which just starts cracking up Jiraiya as he himself took the bell test along with Tsunade and Orochimaru when they were Genin training under the 3rd Hokage. Just like Naruto, Jiraiya himself ended up tied to a stump. As the two of them talk and reminisce, they're unaware that they're being followed by Itachi and Kisame, who decide not to start a fight with Jiraiya since he's, one of the Sannin. Back in the Leaf Village, Sasuke is training in the woods, wanting to become stronger after seeing how strong Naruto was while he was fighting Gaara. He decides to find Kakashi to train with him, but finds Kakashi at home bedridden with Guy, Asuma, and Kurenai all watching over him. We see that the three of them took Kakashi home and decided to keep Itachi's return a secret from Sasuke as to not get him to do anything stupid. The whole plan is ruined though when another ninja barges in and asks if it's true that not only Itachi is back, but he's after Naruto. Determined to kill Itachi and save Naruto, Sasuke rushes out to find them, learning that Naruto and Jiraiya have already left the village. We see that Naruto and Jiraiya have already reached the town they were heading to. Naruto's by himself training in his hotel room as Jiraiya is out on a date with a girl who wanted to get to know him better. Sasuke also arrives at the town and combs the whole place, asking all the inns and hotels if they have an old man with white hair and a little blonde-haired kid staying in the same room. Sasuke finds the hotel, goes, and he knocks on Naruto's door. Naruto hears knocking on his door and thinks it's Jiraiya. It's revealed that Sasuke ended up at the wrong hotel, and he barges in on a different white-haired man and blonde boy, and Naruto's just opened the door to Itachi. It was a real Silence of the Lambs type thing. Naruto sees Itachi and notes to himself that he looks almost identical to Sasuke, just more grown up, especially because they both have Sharingan eyes. Sasuke is just sprinting through the streets trying to find Itachi, and while he searches, we get a flashback to his past. We see that when he was younger, Sasuke really did look up to his older brother. One day he asked Itachi to help him with his shuriken training, and Itachi said no. So Sasuke asks his dad why Itachi doesn't spend any time with him, and his father said that Itachi is just a very closed-off person in general, and that not even he knows Itachi very well. Sasuke then leaves for the academy, and on the way, he gets stopped by his aunt and uncle, who are talking to him about Itachi. His aunt says that by Sasuke's age, Itachi had already become a Genin and awoken the Sharingan, which this gets Sasuke down because he feels like he's falling behind, but his uncle promises him that in time, Sasuke will become a strong shinobi just like his brother. Sasuke returned home from school late that night after the sun had already set, and by the time he got to his clan's part of the village, everyone was dead, with blood, weapons, and bodies scattered everywhere. So he sprints home, but it's too late. His parents are dead, and Itachi is, of course, the killer. So Sasuke asks why Itachi would ever do such a thing, and Itachi says he did it to test his own strength. Sasuke tries to run away and begs for his life, but Itachi says he isn't even worth killing, so Itachi leaves, but not before telling Sasuke to live his life full of hatred, all directed towards him. Back in the hotel, Itachi and Kisame discuss how they'll transport Naruto when Sasuke arrives. This surprises Kisame because, again, Sasuke has a Sharingan and looks just like Itachi but younger. Itachi says that Sasuke is his brother, which amuses Kisame, as he thought that Itachi killed literally all of his family members. Sasuke tells Itachi that he's lived his life like he was told, just full of hatred and vengeance directed at him. Sasuke charges Itachi, who doesn't really care at all, with a Chidori. But Itachi easily stops the attack, and Naruto uses some of the Fox Chakra to try and summon Toads to help. Kisame is able to stop this with his special sword, which absorbs chakra. Kisame is about to attack Naruto, but then he's stopped when a Toad arrives to block him, followed by Jiraiya. Jiraiya lectures Itachi and Kisame for not doing the research on him properly, and he says that, quote-unquote, he's better at getting women than they are at getting him. And he explains that the girl he was on a date with was under a genjutsu in order to lure Jiraiya away from Naruto. This clued him into the fact that they were after Naruto, which made him double back to protect him. Sasuke tries to get back into the fight, telling Naruto that Itachi is his to kill, and he charges him again. But Itachi just brutalizes Sasuke, and we get the iconic shot of Itachi pinning Sasuke up against the wall by his neck. He calls Sasuke weak and tells him that he doesn't have enough hate yet. And so in order to make him stronger, Itachi uses the moon reading genjutsu on Sasuke in order to make him relive the moment he learned of his parents' death and the death of his clan. Kisame tries to attack Naruto. Jiraiya stops him using the Toad Mouth Trap Ninja art, which summons the esophagus of a giant toad, which replaces the hallway they're all standing in, as well as coating it in a mucus that keeps everyone stuck in place. It's pretty gross. Kisame's sword and foot start to get absorbed, and Sasuke as well gets absorbed into the wall of the hall, which saves him from Itachi for the time being. Itachi tells Kisame that they need to retreat, as it's their only hope to survive. Itachi uses a jutsu to create an exit to the outside, so he and Kisame run away. Jiraiya notes that it was a black flame jutsu, an extremely powerful fire jutsu, so powerful that he has to physically seal away all the lingering flame. Naruto and Jiraiya check on Sasuke when all of a sudden Guy Sensei shows up out of nowhere and kicks Jiraiya in the face, having mistaken him and Naruto for Itachi and Kisame. Naruto wants to chase after the two Akatsuki members for what they did to Sasuke, but Jiraiya tells him that he's not even in the same league as those two. Shit, he's not even playing the same sport as those two. Guy Sensei says that Kakashi was subjected to the same jutsu as Sasuke and that they need a medical specialist for the two of them to recover. It's not even just Sasuke and Kakashi who need a medical expert, as Lee needs one too after the injuries he sustained in the Chunin exams. So Jiraiya tells Guy that the only person who can help is the person who he and Naruto are already searching for. The medical expert, Sannin, gambling addict, Tsunade. Guy says that he'll take Sasuke back to the village and tells Naruto and Jiraiya to find Tsunade as fast as they can, which Naruto says they will. This impresses Lee, so he gives Naruto a gift, one of the green jumpsuits that he and Lee wear. On the way to the next town, Naruto asks about Tsunade, and Jiraiya says she's one of the three Sannin, like him, but that she's famous for being a big gambler, and an absolutely terrible one at that. Right after he says this, we get our introductory scene of Tsunade, where she's betting with the high rollers at a casino, betting all in. Jiraiya starts doing some investigating to try and track down Tsunade's current location, since she kind of floats from town to town. Meanwhile, Naruto hangs out at the town they're in because there's a currently ongoing festival. Naruto reveals that he has a lot of money saved up in his little froggy wallet, but Jiraiya takes the wallet away and gives him a little bit to spend. So Naruto spends his money on games and food, then tracks down Jiraiya at a hostess club with two women accompanying him. And Jiraiya reveals that he spent all of Naruto's savings on his time at the hostess club, which just pisses off Naruto, pretty rightfully, I'd say. He makes a scene and ends up accidentally staining the coat of another customer at the establishment, which makes the other customer mad, so he and his friend try to start trouble with Naruto and Jiraiya. But Jiraiya uses this as a teachable moment and tells Naruto to watch and learn. He gathers chakra into the palm of his hand in the form of a blue sphere. Jiraiya then slams the sphere into the stomach of the troublemaker, and this sends him flying right through the wall of the hostess club. The man recognizes Jiraiya and apologizes profusely, and offers up his own wallet as compensation. So Jiraiya uses up some of the money to pay for the damages he caused to the establishment, and then uses the rest to buy equipment for training, water balloons. Naruto and Jiraiya go someplace quiet and begin training. Jiraiya says that Naruto will need to combine the skills he learned in the tree climbing exercise and the walking on water exercise, because the goal of the training is to use chakra to spin the water inside of a water balloon in order to make the balloon pop. Naruto starts off eager but doesn't really make any progress, so he asks Jiraiya for tips, and then he sets a goal of mastering the jutsu in 3 days. Jiraiya says he doubts it's a realistic goal, as the inventor of the jutsu, which is called the Rasengan, was the 4th Hokage himself, and it took him 3 years to develop it. He then elaborates that popping the water balloon is simply the first of 3 phases to mastering the Rasengan. So Naruto trains for the next 3 days by himself while Jiraiya enjoys the company of different women around the town that they're staying in. Naruto gets a stroke of inspiration when he sees a cat in the hotel popping a water balloon. This gets Naruto to try popping the balloon by holding it with his left hand and gathering chakra in different spots to rotate the water and pop the balloon with his right hand. Jiraiya says that it's unorthodox as he needs both hands to perform it this way, but it works enough as a foundation to build upon, so Jiraiya moves him on to phase 2 of the training. Phase 2 is similar to the first, but far more challenging, as now Naruto needs to pop a thick rubber ball. Naruto asks Jiraiya to help him out, but Jiraiya says that Naruto isn't a kid anymore and he needs to do it himself. After a few days of training, Naruto goes into town and sees a father and son sharing a popsicle. So he asks Jiraiya if they can spend the day together to train, but Jiraiya repeats what he said to Naruto's not a kid, even though he is, he's like 12 or 13, and he needs to do it himself. 3 weeks pass, with Jiraiya investigating around town and Naruto training until his arms feel like they're about to fall off. And he still can't pop the rubber ball. He ends up holding the ball with both hands, and despite the pain it causes him, sends as much chakra as he can into the ball to pop it. He doesn't pop it, but he does make a little pinhole in the side of the ball. This disappoints Naruto, but Jiraiya shows up to congratulate him for making good progress, as well as offering him a popsicle, which Naruto happily accepts. Back in Orochimaru's lair at the Sound Village, Kabuto is told to find out where Tsunade is located, as Orochimaru believes she is the one person who could restore him the use of his arms. Once Kabuto locates her, he and Orochimaru both head out to go reach her. Naruto is still unable to pop the rubber ball, so Jiraiya draws a spiral pattern on Naruto's hand as a guide to help him control the chakra, but instead Naruto changes the spiral into the symbol of the Leaf Village after remembering a lesson that Iruka gave him when he was younger. This gives Naruto the help he needs to pop the ball, but it also sends him flying backwards. Naruto ended up using so much chakra that it actually burned his hand, which impresses Jiraiya a lot. So he says that Naruto has passed the second stage of training. Naruto's ready to move on to the final phase, but Jiraiya says that now he knows where Tsunade is at, so they have to go. We then see Tsunade, along with her assistant Shizune and her pet pig Tauntaun. Tsunade's hit a lucky streak with her gambling, so she wants to get out of town immediately. And she says that she only gets lucky right before something bad happens to balance it back out. As the three of them are leaving town, they're caught by Orochimaru and Kabuto, who use a giant snake to destroy a castle, making a grand entrance for themselves. Orochimaru tells Tsunade that he wants her to heal his arms for him, as the third Hokage's sealing jutsu leaves them not only unusable, just completely limp hanging by his sides, they're also always in excruciating pain. Tsunade says that she isn't interested, but Orochimaru says that in exchange, he can bring back Tsunade's dead brother and boyfriend, Nawaki and Dan, respectively. While Tsunade eats dinner that night, Jiraiya and Naruto finally find her. She asks why they came to find her, and Jiraiya says that the Leaf Village needs a new Hokage, and they want her for the job. Tsunade says she already heard about what happened to the third Hokage, and that she also bumped into Orochimaru, but she refuses the Hokage position up front, saying that anyone who willingly wants to be Hokage is a fool. The absolute disrespect presses Naruto's buttons, so he wants to fight Tsunade outside, and she humors his request. They begin to fight, but Tsunade is able to send him flying with just her pointer finger. She asks why he cares so much about the Hokage, and he says that it's his dream to become Hokage one day. This gives Tsunade pause as she remembers Nawaki and Dan, and how they too both wanted to be Hokage. While her guard's lowered, Naruto gets ready to use whatever Rasengan he can muster. As he charges her to attack, she punches the ground, which creates cracks that trap Naruto in the earth. Tsunade starts to chew out Jiraiya for trying to teach Naruto a jutsu that should be impossible for him to master at his current skill level, but Naruto wants to make a bet that he'll have it perfected by the end of next week. Tsunade, reminded of her younger brother and, of course, being a gambler at heart, accepts the challenge. If Naruto wins, Tsunade will give him her necklace, which actually belonged to the first Hokage originally, and if Tsunade wins, Naruto will give her his froggy wallet with all the money inside. They agree to these terms, and Naruto goes off to train while Jiraiya and Tsunade talk. Shizune then tells Naruto about Tsunade's necklace and that it's cursed, as anyone who wears it who isn't Tsunade ends up dead. The week goes by, and Naruto seems to be unsuccessful in mastering the Rasengan. Tsunade and Jiraiya meet up for drinks, where Jiraiya says that he knows Orochimaru offered her something, and Jiraiya says that if she takes up his offer, he will kill her. But because of this threat, Tsunade drugs Jiraiya's drink to knock him out, and then heads to meet Orochimaru, fully prepared to take up his offer and heal his arms. Before she can do the healing jutsu, she's stopped by Kabuto. Since Kabuto is a medical ninja himself, he's able to recognize that Tsunade's healing jutsu would have killed Orochimaru, revealing that she was never really going to side with him. She says that while she would do almost anything to see Nawaki and Dan again, she wouldn't heal Orochimaru to do so, as he would just go and destroy the Leaf Village, the place that Nawaki and Dan died protecting. Plus, she says that she was inspired by Naruto. Tsunade is the only person who can heal Orochimaru, so they have to do things the hard way, and Kabuto starts fighting her. Tsunade is much stronger though, and gets in several good blows, as well as the nervous system rupture jutsu. This scrambles the brain's electrical signals that you can't make any actual deliberate movement. Kabuto is able to work around this limitation, and right as he's about to get the upper hand, Naruto, Jiraiya, and Shizune show up to help out Tsunade. Tsunade refuses their help, but Kabuto puts her out of her commission by cutting open his hand, as Tsunade has a paralyzing fear of blood. Jiraiya starts to fight Orochimaru, while Naruto and Shizune fight Kabuto. Kabuto is able to use blood and summoning signs on Orochimaru's arms to summon two giant snakes. To counter this, Naruto and Jiraiya try to summon Gamabunta, but this doesn't work as Naruto is too drained from all his training, and the drugs Tsunade gave Jiraiya make him unable to control his chakra properly either, leaving them both underpowered. The two end up summoning Gamakichi and Gamatatsu, who is the youngest son of Gamabunta, instead. Kabuto easily deals with Naruto and Shizune and turns his attention back to Tsunade. Naruto ends up saving her, and with the help of a shadow clone, is able to create a perfect Rasengan, which he plunges right into Kabuto's stomach. This sends him flying back, and then Kabuto's wounds from this are too severe for him to heal on the spot, so he's taken out of commission for the rest of the fight. However, due to Naruto having to get so close to use Rasengan, Kabuto was able to use an attack of his own on Naruto, which tore the muscles around his heart and starts killing him. Tsunade is determined to save Naruto, and thankfully is successful in her efforts. Naruto wakes up for a little bit, long enough to claim Tsunade's necklace and brag about how he won their bet. Tsunade puts the necklace on him and hopes that one day he will become Hokage. Orochimaru sees that Naruto will become very dangerous one day, and he fears what will happen if the Akatsuki get their hands on him, so he decides to kill Naruto here too. Orochimaru draws his sword and lunges at Naruto, but in a split-second decision, Tsunade faces her fear of blood and takes a stab from the sword, which goes right through her heart. She ends up taking several more blows, and after this, she has fully gotten over her fear. Orochimaru asks why she would do such a thing, and Tsunade says it's her duty as the 5th Hokage, finally accepting the role that has been thrust upon her. Tsunade then releases a seal on her forehead, which lets her use a super strong healing jutsu, which heals all her injuries. She decides to kill Orochimaru here and now, so she gets ready to summon Katsuyu, her giant slug kaiju. Seeing this, Jiraiya quickly summons Gamabunta, as he's now bounced back enough from the drugs he can summon him, and then Kabuto summons Manda, who is Orochimaru's main snake kaiju. The kaiju all recognize each other, and Gamabunta is excited to finally kill Manda, who is mad that Orochimaru doesn't have any sacrifices for him to eat. Jiraiya and Tsunade swear to kill Orochimaru, and their final battle, the Battle of the Sannin, begins. The fight starts with Katsuyu launching acid slime at Manda, who is able to dodge it with his fast speed. The snake wraps himself around Katsuyu and goes in to land a deadly bite. Before he can, Gamabunta uses his sword to keep Manda from biting. To get out of his grasp, Katsuyu splits herself into hundreds of smaller slugs. Manda throws Gamabunta away, giving the Toad and Jiraiya enough distance to envelop Manda in a humongous plume of fire. Once the smoke clears, Manda's shed skin is all that's left, with the real snake currently burrowing underneath Gamabunta and Jiraiya. After he's done emerging, Gamabunta grabs Manda's tail as the snake prepares to bite him. But before Manda can do so, Tsunade plunges Gamabunta's sword through Manda's jaw to keep it closed. Orochimaru tries to use the super long tongue to break Tsunade's neck, since he can't use his arms, so he's gotta get freaky like that. But she just uses the tongue to get Orochimaru into melee range. Tsunade punches Orochimaru in the jaw with a devastating blow, which sends him flying and crashing into the ground. Manda is absolutely furious at Orochimaru and says that he'd eat him right now if he could even open his mouth. But since he can't, he'll just eat him the next time that they meet. Kabuto returns to Orochimaru's side, and Orochimaru says that there's still one more way he can get his arms back, which is his last resort. Orochimaru promises that he'll destroy the Leaf Village one day, as he and Kabuto disappear. Once Naruto wakes up, he, along with the others, go back to the bar where he and Tsunade made the bet at the beginning of the week. This is where he's informed that Tsunade has accepted the role of Hokage, and Naruto thinks that at this point she doesn't deserve it, and is worse than the 3rd Hokage in every way, and he even starts listing off reasons. This angers Tsunade, so the two decide to take it up front again. She says that she'll only need one finger to kick his ass again, and Naruto gets frightened as it seems like she's really gonna do it. But she ends up giving him a kiss on the forehead, telling him to grow up into a good man. So Naruto says he will, and then the group leaves to head back to the Leaf Village. But wait, because before they get back to the village, we have another filler episode. This episode takes place during the group's trip back to the Leaf Village. Tsunade suggests that the group takes a break for a day at a hot spring town. Jiraiya says it's a bad idea, but Tsunade convinces him by telling him that there will be lots of pretty women there. Unbeknownst to her, they're actually being spied on by a pair of criminals. Naruto ends up discovering the two criminals, who reveal themselves to be Senta and Bunzo, members of the Akashi Gang, a criminal organization which Tsunade owes debts to. The pair say they aren't allowed to return home until the debt is paid, so Naruto agrees to help them out. Shizune ends up finding out about the gang and tries to stop them and Naruto, as she thinks that if news about Tsunade's debts reaches the Leaf Village, it could jeopardize her position as Hokage and they'd find someone else. So it turns into a whole thing where Naruto and the two gang members fake Naruto's kidnapping, and Shizune pretends to be Tsunade going to rescue him. Then the whole second half of the episode is a big chase through town over a briefcase filled with money. It changes hands several times, but at the end, the twist is that the debt to the Akagi gang has already been paid off, so Senta and Bunzo are free to go home. Naruto, Tsunade, Shizune, and Tauntaun all leave, accidentally forgetting Jiraiya, who has been having the worst luck at the hot springs, ending up in the baths with basically everything but pretty women. Bad luck for him. I kinda like this filler episode. It slots in well enough into the story that I didn't even realize it was a filler episode when I watched it. It provides a nice moment of levity in an otherwise very serious arc. Well, it's serious aside from some of Jiraiya's antics throughout the arc. My big complaint is that the second half of the episode I feel drops a bit in quality once it just turns into one long chase scene. which this is a pretty common trope that filler episodes tend to fall back on, just making a significant portion of the episode a chase scene. It's not too bad here since this is really the first time this happens, but once we get into the last third of the series in the final part of this retrospective review recap thingy I'm doing, where that's where all the filler episodes are, these get a bit more repetitive. Once Naruto and the gang get back to the village, Tsunade has her work cut out for her. Over a bowl of ramen, Iruka tells Naruto that the Leaf Village will continue accepting missions in order to keep up appearances, even though the actual strength of the village has been cut nearly in half, if not more than half, after the Leaf Village invasion. And Konohamaru has a hard time accepting that the village has already chosen a new Hokage. This is made even worse as he watches as all the third Hokage's belongings are cleared out of his office to make space for Tsunade to get settled in. Konohamaru chases after the guys who are moving the third Hokage's stuff and ends up bumping into Tsunade, not knowing who she is. Naruto then runs into Konohamaru and asks if he's seen Tsunade, since she did agree to heal Naruto's friends once they return to the village. Konohamaru doesn't know who she is, so Naruto tells him that she's the person the village picked to be 5th Hokage, which causes Konohamaru to begin crying. Tsunade goes to the hospital, which is where Kakashi, Sasuke, and Lee are, to heal them. She's able to heal Kakashi and Sasuke, but she has to break the news to Lee that he'll have to end his career as a shinobi just due to the mere severity of some of his injuries. There is an operation she could attempt on Lee, but she says that the chances of Lee surviving are so slim that it isn't worth the risk. So Lee has to just leave the room to process this. Konohamaru ends up barricading himself inside of Tsunade's office to stop her from being inaugurated as Hokage. Meanwhile, Sakura goes to the hospital to deliver a bouquet of flowers to Lee, which really makes his day. Just a nice, sweet moment I wanted to include, as otherwise pretty sad stuff going on right now. Tsunade and Shizune finish reading up on the different Genin squads, and she goes to the Hokage's office. She barges in and avoids all the traps that Konohamaru had set for her, which impresses the boy. Later, Konohamaru and Naruto are out paying their respects at the Memorial Stone, which is a memorial in the training grounds that we've seen quite a bit of. It's a very common spot for moments like this to happen. Konohamaru says that he's afraid that when Tsunade becomes Hokage, he'll stop being referred to as the honorable grandson, and he'll just become Konohamaru. But his real fear is that the village will forget about his grandfather. So Naruto eases his fears by saying that they'll get the whole village to promise to remember the third Hokage if they have to. This, alongside with how dedicated Tsunade is to helping Lee, is what convinces Konohamaru that she will make a good Hokage. Shizune walks in on Tsunade, intensely studying all of her medical books, as she's trying to figure out any ways to increase the odds of Lee's operation being a success. So Shizune decides to help her out, and they start cramming, like it's medical school. Guy and Lee are talking about the operation, and the two have a heart-to-heart where Lee says he's afraid to die if the operation goes wrong. The two reminisce on Lee's training and his growth as a ninja, and Lee ends up in tears and says that he doesn't want to live if he can't be a ninja, so it's like a catch-22. So Guy Sensei says that if Lee dies due to complications from the operation, he'll die too, as he too doesn't want to live if Lee isn't a ninja. So Lee decides to take the operation. Shizune wakes up after a long night of research and finds that Tsunade has found out how to raise the odds of the operation up to 58%, which is a number they're both much more satisfied with. And in the final scene, we see Tsunade is inaugurated as the 5th Hokage in front of the whole village to roaring applause. I really like the Search for Tsunade arc, and I think it's a big step back in the right direction for the show after the Invasion arc. I think one of the big reasons why is just the pace of it. Since it's the penultimate canon arc of the series, it kinda acts like the last calm before the storm, so to speak. The arc starts exciting with Itachi and Kisame, and then has the signing battle at the end, but the arc is a lot more slower paced than both the previous arc and the next one. I really like that a good portion of the arc is just Naruto training and Jiraiya investigating. It gives you more time to get to see how the pair play off of each other, which I appreciate since at this point in the series, I still consider Jiraiya a new character. He got a few episodes between the preliminaries and the finals of the Chunin exams, where he's introduced and started to train Naruto, and then a little bit in the end of the Invasion arc, but for the most part, he just kind of disappeared for 30 or so episodes. Giving him a ton more screen time in this arc, I think was a great call. And I also really like how much time of the arc is dedicated to Naruto learning the Rasengan, and it makes it feel really earned when Naruto does master the technique. This is especially important as the Rasengan basically becomes Naruto's new signature move. At least in part 1 of the series, I can't speak for Shippuden. It would really cheapen the impact of the ability if it was just given to Naruto or if he learned it easily, and I especially think that this is really the only place in the series' story where you could really dedicate this much time into learning a single move like this, except for maybe like between the Land of Waves arc and the Chunin exams. And I think that the manner in which Naruto actually has to train is pretty symbolic, because he has to basically destroy water balloons and rubber balls, toys. These are things that most people would associate with childhood. And this represents that Jiraiya wants Naruto to grow up quickly and start acting like an adult because of how dangerous the Akatsuki are and how they're out for him. This is the repeated sentiment that he shares throughout Naruto's training. And I think that this is kind of a subtle nod to the audience that Naruto's more childish days are going to come to an end soon, which is fully cemented after the next arc. Another part of the arc that I like is that it's kind of like a road trip arc, because, this is the first time that we spent significant time outside of the Leaf Village since the Land of Waves arc. I kind of see it as an inverse of the Chunin exams training with Jiraiya. There, Jiraiya and Naruto trained in the Leaf Village, a place where Naruto is very familiar and comfortable. Here, Naruto and Jiraiya depart the village and end up training in these different, smaller, kind of sleazy villages and towns. These places that Jiraiya is much more familiar with than Naruto. There's also just some really funny moments during the training portion of the arc. Naruto can be a very funny show at times, but the prior arc just didn't really allow for any humor, and this arc brings that back, mostly because of Jiraiya. He's a very funny character, and I'm glad that this arc gives him plenty of time to shine. But Jiraiya also knows when to get serious when lives are on the line, like when fighting Itachi and Kisame, during the Sannin battle, or when he threatens to kill Tsunade. Jiraiya is actually very similar to Kakashi in that way, and I feel that this connection is only further reinforced with how Jiraiya is the author of the smut novels that Kakashi is always seen reading. And so this makes it feel more natural that Jiraiya basically becomes Naruto's new sensei, taking over the reins of his training. I also feel like all the new characters introduced in the arc are great. Itachi and Kisame are really kind of terrifying. They show up out of nowhere, almost kill everyone that they fight, and then they leave for the rest of the show pretty much. Considering they only have a couple episodes of screen time, these two leave a great impression. Them and just the general introduction to the Akatsuki as a group is more set up for Shippuden than anything else, as, spoilers, neither Itachi or Kisame nor anyone else from the Akatsuki show up in any major way throughout the rest of the series. But it doesn't feel like they come out of nowhere, it makes perfect sense that they would use the weakened state of the Leaf Village after the invasion to try and swoop in and kidnap Naruto. It's also very cool that we finally meet up with Itachi, and he lives up to how much he's been built up until this point. Killing Itachi has been built up from the very beginning as Sasuke's whole motivation and reason for living. We've seen Sasuke get so much more powerful over the course of the show, and arguably sometimes he's even more powerful than Naruto. Yet he still can't even lay a finger on Itachi. And not only this, he gets absolutely just mauled by Itachi. And Itachi also makes him relive the very moment that set him down this path in the first place, just to make him even more hateful. This is some like Professor X making Magneto relive the Holocaust type of evil. Same goes for torturing Kakashi for 3 days and like 5 seconds. The Mangekyo Sharingan is an ability with lots of potential for evil, which Itachi completely takes advantage of. This really starts to put gears into motion for what Sasuke does in the final arc, but obviously I'll have to save talking about that for the next part. Then we have Tsunade and Shizune. Tsunade is a fan favorite character for some, obvious reasons, but even aside from her massive rack, she's a really cool character. Obviously she's really cool when she beats up Orochimaru during the end fight, but I also like that she's got her fair share of problems, like her gambling addiction and drinking problem. She's basically the polar opposite of the third Hokage, which makes you kind of agree with Naruto at first that she isn't cut out for the job. And her reasoning for heavily considering joining Orochimaru is very believable, wanting to bring back Nawaki and Dan from the dead. I mean, Nawaki in particular seems to be no older than Naruto when he died, so he died very young. But by this point we know Orochimaru very well, and I think it's safe to assume that had Tsunade given him back the use of his arms, he probably would have just killed her on the spot. And that's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, he actually upholds his end of the deal and brings Nawaki and Dan back, but after seeing how he brought back the first two Hokages, the Nawaki and Dan he brought back would have just been his puppets. Tsunade's choice to try and stop Orochimaru to ensure that Nawaki and Dan didn't die in vain is a very respectable one, and is what really won me over to liking her. I think Tsunade is an excellent addition to the cast of the series, and I'm very happy to say that she becomes a mainstay character going forward, as obviously she's the new Hokage. She's one of the main supporting characters for the rest of the show. And then you have Shizune, who's pretty much Tsunade's secretary/assistant. She doesn't get a whole lot of character development on her own, but she works really well as an extension of Tsunade. If anything, I think she gets the most time to shine in the filler episode. Aside from that, she has some cool moments during the fight with Kabuto, like showing her signature weapon, which is like a wrist gauntlet that shoots out poison needles. very dangerous looking, especially because I don't like needles, and it's very fitting for a ninja. You know, it's a very ninja-esque weapon. And then there's Tauntaun. She's just a cute animal sidekick character, not a whole lot else to say about her. And the villains are all still great. I already talked about Itachi, Kisame, and the Akatsuki, so I don't want to repeat myself. You already know how I feel about them. Orochimaru and Kabuto are still a really good pair of villains. That's the nice thing about having a main villain like Orochimaru, is that even when the story slows down for a bit, you still know that they're plotting and always working towards their goal. We don't really learn anything new about Orochimaru this arc, although we do get to see a lot of interactions between him and Kabuto, who seems like he very well may be as strong as Orochimaru, or at least as strong as Orochimaru is in his current weakened state. Kabuto is a very weaselly villain, but he seems just like the type of person who'd be drawn to someone like Orochimaru. And then we also get to see a bit more of Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and Tsunade when they were kids, training under the third Hokage, which we saw a bit of in the last arc as well, you know, fleshing out their backstories a bit. The arc just has a very solid lineup of characters. It's got a lot less characters than the previous few arcs, so everyone gets a larger share of the screen time to shine. The fights in the arc are also really fun, as few and far between as they are. The Search for Tsunade arc is way less action heavy than the Chunin exams and especially the Konoha Crush, with there only really being two main fights, Itachi and Kisame versus the Leaf Ninja, and then the Sannin battle. I've already talked a lot about Itachi and Kisame, but the fact they spend the first few episodes of the arc easily winning against everyone they come up against until Jiraiya shows up really goes to demonstrate their strength and makes them a force to be reckoned with. And then there's the Sannin battle, which is just a bombastic show of strength for Tsunade, Jiraiya, Orochimaru, and their respective summons. It has the same appeal as the fight between Orochimaru and the third Hokage. It's just fun to watch top-level characters duking it out with all the abilities they have at their disposal. And this brings me to the final part of the arc that I had to discuss, but it's the part that I think brings the whole thing full circle, and it's the ending. I absolutely love everything with Lee and Guy Sensei in this arc, because the two of them are easily some of my favorite side characters in the entire series. I think it's very touching to see how much Lee looks up to Guy, and how Guy cares for Lee. You know, he's like a son to him. And I may or may not have gotten a little bit misty-eyed when Guy Sensei said that if Lee died during the operation, then he'd die too. And I also really like Konohamaru's arc of coming to terms with the death of his grandfather. It's very sad to see him do everything he can to prevent Tsunade from becoming Hokage, to prevent the village from moving on, because he doesn't want the village to move on. He says it himself, you know, he's scared that the village will forget who the Hokage was, probably fearing that he'll become just one of the faces up on the rocks that no one really knows who they were. It's just someone they read about in their history books. And I find Naruto's promise to Konohamaru that they'll get everyone in the village to agree to remember the third Hokage to be very sweet. I'm going to give the Search for Tsunade arc 4 out of 5 stars. I think it's absolutely great and a really good step up from the Konoha Crush arc. It's great as one last slower paced arc before shit really hits the fan in the final arc. The fights are great, the characters are great, everything about the arc is great. Even the filler episode is pretty good. My main complaint is that it just isn't as good as the Chunin exams, which is basically a perfect shonen arc. That, and maybe the arc could have a few more episodes back in the Leaf Village after they fight Orochimaru, but before Tsunade becomes Hokage, just to give Konohamaru and Lee's arcs a bit longer to develop before the end of the arc, but that's really all I would change. The next part will be discussing the final canon arc of the series, the Sasuke Retrieval Arc. But in the meantime, before we talk about that, there's a few more filler episodes that aired between the Search for Tsunade arc and the Sasuke Retrieval Arc that I feel like would best be talked about here rather than the beginning of the next part. This is basically the quintessential Naruto filler episode, and I know that for a lot of people online, it's basically considered required viewing material for the show. They say you can skip all the filler you want, but you should at least watch episode 101. So, does it live up to the hype? The episode starts with Naruto trying to get Sakura and Sasuke to help him find out what Kakashi looks like under his mask, since he's literally always seen wearing it. Sakura's all for the idea, but Sasuke needs a bit of convincing, so they all brainstorm what they think he actually looks like. Needless to say, they end up convincing Sasuke to help out. So the three of them plot to get Kakashi's mask off. First, they treat Kakashi to lunch at Ichiraku, since he has to take the mask off to eat, obviously. Kakashi knows something's up since the three of them are acting odd, so he runs through scenarios in his head of how they could sabotage lunch. Just as Kakashi's about to start eating, Ino, Choji, and Shikamaru barge in and block Team 7's view of Kakashi, but the ramen shop owner and his daughter, who did see his face, are completely entranced, making Team 7 all the more determined and curious. They try tailing him around, first as a group and then one at a time, but are unsuccessful. The highlight here is that Sakura tails into the training grounds where Kakashi ended up leaving a scarecrow dummy to throw her off, another play on the meaning of his name. Then they end up getting a mission to help out a farm near the Leaf Village, and they see it as a perfect opportunity to see Kakashi's face. There's also a trio of ninja who are led by a man bound for revenge on Kakashi because Kakashi humiliated them 3 years ago by beating them in battle and then stealing the main dude's girl. More antics ensue, and Kakashi ends up beating the 3 rival ninjas. And after all said and done, Naruto ends up just asking what Kakashi has under his mask. And Kakashi says he doesn't mind showing them, which catches Team 7 super off guard. The big twist, as Kakashi says, is that behind this mask is another mask. I think it goes without saying that episode 101 gets 5 stars on the filler arc scale. Not only is it really funny, it provides a great opportunity to just see Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura hanging out and spending a somewhat normal day together, which we really don't ever get to see. Episode 101 is a fan favorite, and I think for really good reason. Definitely go out of your way to watch it if you haven't. And then there's one last piece of filler I want to cover before wrapping up this part, but this is special because it's the first actual filler arc of the show rather than just a one-off filler episode. After the invasion, Tsunade is forced to send Genin on more dangerous missions than usual because of the shinobi shortage, so this means that Team 7, just Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura, no Kakashi, because he's got a mission of his own, they get a mission to protect a racer named Idate, who is voiced by Roger Craig Smith, during a foot race to settle a feud between the Wasabi family and the Wagarashi family, with Idate being the runner for the Wasabi family. The thing is, Idate hates ninjas, so more often than not, he just ends up bickering with Naruto. But the big problem is that the Wagarashis also hired ninjas to protect their racer. The race has 3 parts. The racers start in a port and need to run to their boat, then sail across the sea to a neighboring island and to the Todoroki Shrine to grab an orb, and they need to bring the orb back to the starting point. As the race begins, Idate runs in the complete wrong direction, but it turns out he was running to a different port that'll let him get to the island quicker, because of the winds and the current. As they're sailing the boat, it's attacked by the clone ninjas from the Forest of Death during the Chunin exams, which I was not expecting to see them ever again. It turns out that they were hired by the Wagarashi family to sabotage Idate. Team 7 defends the boat while Idate swims to shore. Upon making landfall, Idate is stopped by Aoi, who is the leader of the enemy ninja. Aoi stops Idate from progressing while Naruto and the others swim to shore. They get attacked by the clone ninjas again from underwater, so Naruto decides to use what he learned from the first step of the Rasengan training, which was the water balloon part, to create a whirlpool in the water to defeat the clone ninjas. They get to shore, but they're beaten by Aoi, who poisons Team 7 and Idate before leaving. They all take shelter in a cave while Sakura uses some antidote from Tsunade to treat the poison. Idate then explains that the reason he hates ninjas is because he was once a Leaf Village ninja himself. Idate failed the Chunin exams and then was tricked by Aoi into stealing the sword of the Thunder God, which was the second Hokage's legendary lightning sword. What, you didn't know the second Hokage had a legendary lightning sword? Naruto tells Idate that he knows how it feels to be manipulated like that, as he had basically the same thing happen to him with Mizuki in the first episode of the show. Fukusuke, who is the other family's racer, is celebrating his victory, but Aoi tells him not to. Right as Naruto, who is carrying Idate, runs up the stairs of the shrine. Idate grabs the orb and they start to run back, but Aoi stops him, wielding the Thunder God sword. The sword blocks Naruto's Rasengan, but is cracked by Sasuke's Chidori. Aoi talks smack to Sasuke after he sees his Sharingan, and he calls him a disgrace to his family. Aoi then throws Sasuke off a bridge, and Sakura goes down to save him. Naruto tries to use a Rasengan again, but it doesn't work as the sword can cut through chakra. Naruto ends up aiming a Rasengan for the cracks in the sword that Sasuke created, and this ends up breaking the sword and sending Aoi flying, rendering him defeated. Idate ends up winning the race in the last second, and it turns out that the Wagarashi family was bribing race officials, meaning they will be disbanded forever, and the Wasabi family is victorious. A ship then arrives with Ibiki Marino from the Chunin exams on board to take Naruto, Sakura, and an injured Sasuke back to the Leaf Village. Idate sees Ibiki and calls out to him, as it turns out the two of them are actually brothers, but Ibiki says he doesn't have a brother anymore. Idate thinks to himself that he's worthy now, and that he finally understands the 10th question of the Chunin exams, which was the one about laying down your life for your team. While Ibiki feels like Idate has grown into more of a man, thanks to Naruto. Meanwhile, Sasuke is fuming because Naruto got to beat Aoi, and he didn't. I really liked the Land of Tea Escort mission, quite a bit. I'm giving it 4 out of 5 stars on the filler scale for some of the same reasons that episode 101 ranked so highly. Obviously this arc isn't as funny as episode 101, but it isn't trying to be. This is just a normal mission with Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke working together, something that I already said I wish there was a bit more of. It also ranks a bit more highly because it's the first actual filler arc, so it isn't as repetitive as some of the ones that came later. It also just slots really well into the gap between the search for Tsunade and the Sasuke Retrieval Arc. But that really just comes from how Sasuke is in the hospital at the end of this arc, just like how when the Retrieval Arc begins, he's still in the hospital from his fight with Itachi. Also, Date is again voiced by the GOAT voice actor Roger Craig Smith, which I can't be the only one who thinks it's funny that they got future Sonic the Hedgehog actor to voice the Racer. I think it's funny. Give this arc a watch if you want to see Team 7 just go on a fun mission together, featuring Sonic the Hedgehog, Kyle Crane, Batman, whatever you think, Thomas from regular show, etc. He's a lot of characters. And that's pretty much it for this part. Next part will be covering the Sasuke Retrieval Arc, and then the part after that will be covering everything else after the Sasuke Retrieval Arc. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to leave a like and hit subscribe to support the channel. And let me know in the comments what you think of the Search for Tsunade arc. Peace out, God bless, believe it, and I'll catch you next time.
Yeah, cause I got it like that. Flow so smooth like I got it on tap. Yeah, and I'ma say it be a good night while I'm on my Yingling, while I'm drinking Bud Light. Can you get it when you miss